Tech hiring is going through a period of rapid change. Over 70% of jobs now being posted are demanding AI skills, yet most employers can't define what that actually means. Resumes are losing their value to differentiate, application volumes are at record levels, and traditional screening is struggling to keep pace. Keep listening to find out how innovative TA teams are responding. Support for this podcast comes from CoderPad. Here's a question that should keep you up at night. When your next engineering hire sits down at their computer on day one, are they the person you interviewed? Or are they someone who just knew how to perform for an interview? Meta discovered a dangerous gap between interview performance and actual job performance. So did LinkedIn, so did Yahoo. They all found the same culprit. Their hiring process was testing for skills that no longer reflect how the best engineers actually work. AI hasn't just changed how software gets built, it's changed what it means to be good at building software. And the companies who are winning the war for technical talent, they've already rewritten their interview playbook. CoderPad is the platform powering that shift. From AI-enabled live interviews to realistic project-based screens, CoderPad helps you see candidates in action, not just on paper. Meta scaled to 16,000 interviews using it. Yahoo cut recruiter screening time by over 50%. MNTN is onboarding new hires in days instead of weeks. This April, if you're still banning AI in interviews, you're not just behind, you're screening out your best future hires. Visit coderpad.io/podcast to talk to the team. That's coderpad.io/podcast.
There's been more of scientific discovery, more of technical advancement and material progress in your lifetime and mine than in all the ages of history.
Hi there, welcome to episode 785 of Recruiting Future with me, Matt Alder. AI is reshaping how work gets done, but the hiring process hasn't yet caught up. Employers are asking for AI skills they can't clearly define, while application volumes are hitting record levels. Resumes mean less than ever because candidates can use AI to tailor them to any job in seconds, and traditional screening methods are struggling to keep pace. At the same time, something interesting is happening underneath all of the noise. Candidates are often further ahead on AI than the companies hiring them. Forward-thinking employers are turning to work sampling. And rather than treating AI use as cheating, they're building it in as a necessary part of the assessment. Despite predictions that coding would be the first job to disappear, engineering hiring is actually up in some areas. So, how should employers rethink assessment, upskilling, and what they look for in technical talent? My guest this week is Amanda Richardson, CEO of CoderPad. In our conversation, Amanda shares what's really happening in technical hiring and where it's heading next. Hi, Amanda, and welcome to the podcast.
Well, thanks, Matt. It's great to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show. Please, could you introduce yourself and tell everyone what you do?
Sure thing. I am the CEO of CoderPad. We are a platform for interviewing and assessing developer talent. So if you are hiring technical skills, which we can get into, has become a wider and wider category. But certainly all those engineers who sit in the back with the lights off, those are my people. And we help you figure out who can actually do the job well and will be a great fit for your company.
Let's start with that and talk a little bit about technology changing and skills changing, because AI apparently is a thing. Everyone wants AI skills, but lots of people don't even seem to know what they mean when they say that. So what's going on out there? What are people looking for? And probably more importantly, how can people test for the skills they're looking for when they know what they're looking for?
It's so interesting. So AI has certainly affected the developer job and the developer teams more than anybody. So if you look at any chart on the effectiveness or sales or impact of AI, it's engineers, both high impact and high outcomes. So that has been interesting, but it also has meant that AI has affected every role, and people are kind of wondering, like, what do I do? I mean, CEOs, which I can make fun of because I am one, will stand up at an all hands and be like, we are now an AI company. And everybody's like, yes. And then they turn around and they're like, what does that mean? Now what do we do? So what we are seeing that is over 70% of job postings are now asking for AI skills, which is crazy. Everybody, recruiting, marketing, sales, development. No one really has defined what it is. And one of the big gaps we see is actually companies haven't even enabled it within their organization. So they want the skills, but they have no content on how to do it. Maybe not even tooling, but it's a wild world out there.
Absolutely. It reminds me of the time I got an internet job in the very early days of the internet. And I joined an internet company and didn't have an internet connection, which was which sounds kind of quite parallel to what we're sort of talking about here. We want internet people, but
we don't do that yet.
Yeah, exactly.
That is 100% true out there.
It's a crazy time in recruiting in general, because obviously candidates have perhaps adopted AI quicker than a lot of employers have. Combining that with some of the economic challenges that are going on in particular markets, we're looking at huge numbers of applications at the moment. That's not something that's going to go away. It's something that is ultimately breaking the processes that are already there. What comes next? What are you seeing employers doing in their recruiting process to, kind of address that, but also just to make recruiting better and more effective?
Yes. I mean, the 100%, 3,000 applicants, they're all a perfect match in your ATS is truly the top of funnel problem of the day. I was talking to a head of people earlier today who was saying they opened a role within a week. They had 1,200 resumes. And they believe that about 60 to 70% of them were actually applied by bots. So no human actually even applied to the job. A candidate had said, I want a job in, we'll call it marketing. Here's my resume. Go find every marketing job, tweak my resume to match the job description, and then apply to the job. So there weren't even candidates on the other side. It's wild out there. I actually think the end of the resume, the end of the CV, maybe here. I don't know if we're going to have a party
Let's hope so.
or dance on the grave.
Yeah,
it's unclear. But the end of the CV. So what we are seeing, particularly in engineering, is people really leaning on take-home projects, assessments. And so I don't really care what your resume says, because it's probably some exaggeration of what you know. And 5 years of JavaScript has never meant anything anyway. I just want to see if you can actually do the work we can do. And so this is where companies are taking on assessments to say, all right, here's a type of work we do here. And it's not, a pop quiz for computer science. It's like a real multi-file project. I mean, the technology now allows you to send a code base, here's 3,000, here's 5,000, here's 30,000 lines of code. Build a feature in this. And the candidates who have the skills and know what to do, not only are able to accomplish those assessments, they find them so much more refreshing. It's more interesting work, Like I was talking to a candidate yesterday who was saying, God, I did this project for this, hot AI company. It was 45 minutes. I built this thing and it was so fun. Remember when recruiting used to be fun and doing the candidate experience would give you a sense of what the company was like? So I guess I challenge all the talent acquisition people who are flooded with resumes to not only embrace assessments, but embrace assessments that really show the type of work that'll get done on the job. And not everybody will love that, but that in and of itself is a signal in the hiring process.
Yeah, exactly. It's part of that kind of brand and that fit process. I was listening to a TA leader talk about this a couple of weeks ago, and it was really interesting because it was on a panel and someone in the audience said, what about using AI to cheat in tests like this?
Yeah.
And what they said was, well, actually, you need to use AI to complete this particular exercise because that's what we do in our workflow. So it's actually part of the test. And I think that's a really interesting point that people miss as well.
Yeah, what we're seeing, a lot of, we work with, Apple, Tesla, Meta, OpenAI, like these are my people, this is San Francisco. But what we are seeing them adopt is an interview where you can't get through it unless you're AI proficient. Like you have to use AI because to your point, like that's what they do on the job. So it's not cheating. It's like a lack of skills if you're not using AI, but they will often pair it with a no AI assessment where they're really trying to understand, what is the kernel of your knowledge? How do you do critical thinking? What is the structure? And then they'll have one that's optional. And I think it's the optional one that's so fascinating, right? So you pass the AI one, you pass the no AI one, and then you're like, what do I want to do here? And I think that's part of the judgment and skill that they're trying to assess is like, can you appropriately apply AI when it makes sense? And can you not apply AI when it doesn't make sense? When it's just faster to do yourself. Don't try to spin up all the agents if you can just solve it yourself in 15 minutes and fix that bug.
And I think the other interesting thing is what we've seen in every talent shift over the last sort of 20 years and probably even further back than that, the senior people with genuine cutting edge skills in this space are obviously very few and far between and are changing hands, if that's the right word, for eye-watering amounts of money, that sort of the like of which we've never...
Don't try to buy a house in San Francisco these days.
Absolutely, the like of which we've never seen before. So for a lot of companies, they're just locked out of that market, or there just aren't enough people to do that. And thinking back again to the dot-com boom, I was kind of running a team. We had the same issue with some of the kind of experienced people we were looking for. And we ended up just developing our own. We just recruited people and kind of trained them up. Is that a possibility in this tech shift? What are you seeing people do?
So I think your point earlier about candidate adoption being higher than company adoption is real. And what we are seeing in the market is that candidates on their own free time, their personal projects, whatever it is, are embracing and adopting AI. So the skills are out there. It may not be on the resume because they don't use it in their day-to-day because they're not allowed, or, somebody in governance, something, or they couldn't get it approved. But when you ask people about like, how do you use it in your day-to-day, it is accessible. So I actually don't think the skills gap is as great from like a foundational knowledge, like even to your point on internet, right? Like you played around on, I don't know, I'm old enough to remember AOL keywords and, instant messenger chats. And like, that's what we did. Even if you didn't have it at work, like you were on instant messenger all night. So talking to people about how they're using it in their day to day, I think is impactful, but also being able to use it and then upskilling in terms of how it applies to the job. So how do you use it in the context of the day-to-day? We partner with LinkedIn Learning. We're rolling out a bunch of courses on AI upskilling or how to use AI, which models to use when. All of these are going to be things that we keep learning, and it's changing so rapidly. We didn't have Claude Code. I think it's only been 6 months since Claude Code.
Yeah, it is about that.
Or like
it's
the models.
Amazing. Yeah.
And now, I was talking to a developer the other day who was saying, and their developers don't even look at code. Like they take a problem, they talk about how you would build it. I mean, it's technical language. It's not like build a thing. There is technical knowledge there, but then Claude Code builds the code. They have an agent who checks the code. They have another agent who does the integration, another agent who does the QA, and then they release the code. And the people never see the code. So I think there is like just rapid change in terms of what it even looks like to be AI upskilled. So I guess that is a very long-winded answer to say, yes, companies are upskilling, but yes, I think your people have more skills than you maybe have allowed them to show in the workplace. So open it up there. And then whatever they have, it's going to be irrelevant in 12 months. So really, I think it's on leaders and it's on people teams, right? Like this is what we do. We run talent. We drive the talent strategy for the company. If skills and talent are what we do, how are we creating a culture where the talent is experimenting, the talent is trying new things, the talent is looking at new ways to solve problems, we're embracing curiosity, we're embracing humility, like we're embracing experimentation. So how do we really ultimately recruit for and hire and reward those skills more than like, can you code fast enough with Claude?
And are they not really the true AI skills? That kind of adaptability, learning, curiosity, they're kind of really the things that are going to drive people through the next sort of stage of their career at the moment, 100%. Aren't they?
Yeah. And I mean, maybe those are things that always we should have been looking for. And we kind of got distracted by fancy keywords and SEO optimization and JavaScript, React. Like there are jargon everywhere. But I think ultimately we want people who are adaptable and curious and going to try new things and be creative and make mistakes. And then we have to create a structure and a culture that allows for that.
Reflecting back on something that you said a little bit earlier, around Claude Code, for example, what is this doing to tech jobs in general? Because there is this sort of huge narrative at the moment that coding is dead as a job and there won't be any jobs because AI will be able to do all the things that humans do in the kind of software engineering space. So it's over. Is that true? Or does the actual real picture look very different?
We're seeing quite a different picture. So our usage is up, highest interview volume ever. We also see that especially amongst the AI companies who are the most AI forward. And I think if anybody was replacing their engineers with Claude Code, it would be them. And maybe they have replaced some, but they're still hiring a ton. And then I think the macro data even shows that, engineering job postings are way up. Interestingly, like product manager job postings are also way up. And fun fact for the audience, recruiter job postings are the highest they've been since 2002 in the United States.
Wow,
so
that's great news.
Look out. Turns out we may need more humans after all. But I think what we're finding is some of that is swap outs. So maybe the workers who have the mindset they don't want to try, they're not interested in new tooling, they're resistant to change, they're stuck in their ways. I think those people are being traded out, and that is creating job openings. But I think we're also seeing a lot more developer hiring. And the reason for that is so much more is possible. And I'll just use CoderPad as an example. We are hiring more engineers. And the reason we're doing that is because we can build features that didn't exist it was technically possible, but it would have been so massively expensive to build. So we now have transcription in every single interview. That was not economical 4 years ago, but now AI makes that possible. We can now summarize every project that gets done and compare across candidates because that level of data synthesis is reasonable delivery with LLMs. Yeah. Whereas 3 years ago, I would have had to staff an entire data science team to make that happen. So we are seeing so many more things be built with AI and then AI enabling so much more to be built. It is certainly shifting the bottlenecks. Like, if you had a long backlog of bugs, those backlogs are being worked through. And so developers are looking around being like, what do we do now? Maybe those companies aren't hiring a bunch of engineers. They're hiring more product managers or even getting the tools into the hands of the business. But I think if you look at the data, whether it's on, some of the common feeds on Indeed or LinkedIn or even the major job sources, like we are definitely seeing more hiring and the role is producing more code on a like for like basis. And then ultimately, like as the CFO is sitting there being like, if that engineer created 10 features a year before for X dollars and they can now do 13 because they're 30% more productive, the ROI is up. Let's do more engineers. And so I think we're seeing a lot more hiring for that reason too.
And as a final question, it's difficult to say what the future looks like because, as you say, we hadn't even seen Claude Code 6 months ago. So what do you kind of hope the future looks like? Where do you think we'll be with talent and hiring and those kind of things in a couple of years' time?
I think AI is making every job a technical job. I think everybody is going to be expected to be a builder. I think everybody's also going to have the opportunity to be a builder. If you've been that recruiter who's like super frustrated with the manual process, but you can't get the attention of the developer to fix the thing or the IT ops person to fix the thing, like you are now going to have that tooling in your hands. So I think this means we have the opportunity for everybody to build. At the same time, I think we will now have the expectation of everybody to be a builder. And so what does a developer job look like 3 years from now? I think we may all be developers in our own way, where you're saying, hey, Claude, or whoever the agents are du jour, change this to this. Like, I don't like that this button is this color. Make this look like this. Add this piece here. And then Claude saying, but what about this? What about that? And then we all ultimately become builders. So I think maybe what we've been doing in developer recruiting for 10 years now around really assessing technical skills, judging and hiring people based on their skills and their fingers on keyboard capabilities as opposed to their CVs and tell me about a time when. Like, I think this may be the opportunity for those with skills to shine and really take over all the different functions, not just engineering. So it's going to be a wild world, and maybe we'll all be vibe coding together somewhere. Or I always laugh at the quote, I think it was John Maynard Keynes said this almost 100 years ago, the big economist. He said, with all the technology improvements, the Industrial Revolution, and all the capacity we've created, I can't believe my grandchildren are only going to work 15 hours a week, and I wonder what they're going to do with that time. And I suspect we're all now his great-grandchildren.
Yes, exactly.
I don't know,
Well,
maybe
let's
you're
hope.
working 15 hours a week. That sounds great.
Yeah.
But I think we'll all find a way to fill the time with more creativity. And I think that's like the coolest part of being a human. And I can't wait.
Amanda, thank you very much for talking to me.
Thank you for inviting me. This has been so fun.
My thanks to Amanda. You can follow this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. You can search all the past episodes at recruitingfuture.com. On that site, you can also subscribe to our weekly newsletter, Recruiting Future Feast, and get the inside track on everything that's coming up on the show. Thanks very much for listening. I'll be back next time, and I hope you'll join me.
This is my show.